When painting a watercolor digitally, I find it best to start it like a real watercolor painting. I started with a quick sketch just to lay down the proportions. This little plant, despite it being inspired by several other plants referenced from Pinterest, ended up being its own little plant. And I think that is the beauty of painting organic things. You don't have to worry about resemblance, anatomy, or even precision, so then you're just left to actually enjoy the painting. Once I have the basic proportions, I started painting by putting my first wash. I did this with my round wet brush, just to put some local color down on the paper. And the same thing with the pot. And very much like real watercolor, I can drag the paint around the canvas to create subtle pools of value and saturation wherever I want. Kinda just letting the watercolor do its thing. Once the base colors were there, still with the same round wet brush, I wanted to add some gradient to the leaves, so I took a more saturated green and dropped it on the tips of the leaves and dragged the paint down to create a soft gradient towards the center of the plant. But for the pot, I decided to give a subtle suggestion of volume by painting a darker shadow on the left side of the plant and a drop shadow right under the bottom leaves. At this point, I felt like the painting was going to the right direction, but I was missing some chaos and some happy accidents with the watercolor. So I took one of my favorite brushes from the whole set, the LP Watercolor Flat Wet, and I used it to drop some really saturated greens on the leaves and a big wet shadow on the pot. And now to bring order back in the painting, I used the LP Watercolor Fine Bleedy to paint some final hard lines on the leaves. I feel like this final layer is always the most satisfying on any watercolor painting. Without it, the painting can feel a little bit too soft, missing the punchiness of the darker values. This simple little plant took only 15 minutes and I found it very relaxing. If you want to try the brushes that I used to create this little demo, you can get them completely for free in the link in my bio. These 3 brushes are some of my favorites out of the 50 plus of my upcoming watercolor pack. So if you want to give them a try, go to my bio, sign up for the waiting list, and I'm gonna send you these brushes and a lot of other goodies to your inbox.